ever really thought about hail? I mean, where did these destructive balls of ice actually come from? Well, what if I told you an ancient text described them as falling from mountains in the sky? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating link between that ancient description and modern-day weather science. So when you look up at the sky, this is probably what you see, right? These fluffy, harmless-looking cotton balls just kind of floating by. But is that the whole story? Because I'm here to tell you, some clouds are, well, they're not gentle at all. Yeah, just ask any pilot who's had to fly through serious storm. From their perspective, the reality is completely different. Certain clouds aren't fluffy. No way. They are these massive, terrifying structures that look almost solid, like you could literally crash right into them. Okay, so before we jump into all the modern science, we got to take a step back. We need to look at this very specific and kind of puzzling description from an ancient text that seems to have understood this terrifying side of clouds over 1,000 years ago. And here it is. Check this out. It doesn't just say, hail falls from the sky. It gets way more specific. It claims that hail originates from mountains that are within the sky. Just stop and think about that for a second. How strangely precise is that? So that's the big mystery we're unpacking. Was this just some beautiful, poetic language? Or was it describing a real meteorological phenomenon that science would only confirm much, much later? Well, let's find out. All right, now it's time to go inside the storm. We're going to peel back the layers and look at the violent engine that makes a hailstorm tick. And trust me, this is where the science gets really, really interesting. So meteorologists have a name for these cloud mountains, cumulonimbus. And here is the absolute most critical fact of this whole thing. This is the only type of cloud on Earth that can produce hail. That's it. Not all clouds are created equal, not by a long shot. Inside these clouds, it's just this violent cycle. A cumulonimbus acts like a giant engine. You've got these incredibly powerful winds, updrafts, that just hurl water droplets way up into the freezing atmosphere. They turn to ice, they start to fall, they collect more water, and then, bam, they get shot right back up again. This happens over and over, adding layer after layer of ice, until they're finally just too heavy for the wind to hold them. And just how high are we talking? These cloud structures are absolutely massive. I mean, they can reach heights of 40,000 feet. To put that in perspective, that's higher than a commercial jetliner flies. It's way, way up there. And if you need another comparison, a fully developed cumulonimbus cloud is as tall as Mount Everest, and sometimes even taller. So when we say cloud mountains, we're not kidding. These are truly titans of the sky. So let's pause for a second and connect the dots. On one hand, you have an ancient text describing mountains in the sky that produce hail. And on the other hand, you have modern science telling us that hail only comes from these towering, mountain-sized clouds. Let's put these two ideas right next to each other. The parallels here are pretty striking. These clouds aren't just mountain-sized, they're often mountain-shaped. You can see the huge vertical structure, the base that can look like a mountain range from a distance, and that classic flat anvil top that looks just like a plateau. And most importantly, they function as the sky's only ice factory. And this is the crucial point right here. The description isn't just a simple visual metaphor, like when we say that cloud looks like a dragon. It's a functional one. It's connecting a specific structure, the mountain, to a specific output, hail. So this brings us to the big question. When you put all this together, what are you looking at? Is it just a beautiful coincidence, a lucky poetic guess, or is it something more precise? Let's be fair and look at two perspectives. A skeptic might say, look, calling a big cloud a mountain is just a nice metaphor. It's poetry, not science. But the counterargument is that the text doesn't just describe a shape, it actually identifies a cause. It specifically states that hail comes from these so-called mountains. And look at the different kinds of clouds out there. You get rain from those flat stratus clouds. Those wispy cirrus clouds, they give you no precipitation at all. But if you want hail, you need one specific type, the towering mountain-like cumulonimbus. Nothing else in the sky can do it. So this is the key takeaway. Out of all the different kinds of clouds floating around up there, the text isolated the source of hail to the one and only cloud type that science confirms can actually create it. The one that also just so happens to look and act like a mountain. So, what do you think? Was this just an incredibly lucky metaphor, or was it something like a meteorological blueprint written down centuries before we had the tools to even begin to confirm it?
It's a fascinating question. Thanks for watching.